Abraham Lincoln believed in the cause of freedom for all. Lincoln believed that all of mankind was created equal. At the time that Lincoln ascended to the presidency, the banking cartels were repeatedly attempting to re-establish the recently ousted central bank in America. When the American Civil War commenced, it was the bankers that stood to profit. The banking cartels were aware of the threat that Lincoln posed to their hold on the economic system. Thus, Lincoln was beset not only by some enemies in the South, but also enemies at his rear, the bankers. Even early on, Lincoln's life was under threat. On the way to his inauguration at Baltimore in 1861, Lincoln evaded assassins. With strong disagreements about slavery and other matters, the American Civil War loomed. The following month, 7 southern states withdrew from the Union, and the first shots of the American Civil War were fired. By 1861, the North was running out of money. Lincoln went to borrow from New York banks to continue funding the conflict. These banks, under the influence of the Rothschilds and hostile banking cartels, offered Lincoln a deal he could not possibly accept: finance at 24 to 36% annual interest. European banking cartels had made the decision to back the South. This caused significant financial hardship for Lincoln. Lincoln and his countrymen were angered by the banking cartels. In response, they printed their own debt-free money, making it legal tender for both public and private debts. This government-issued money, with no national debt or interest debt generated in its issue, was called the Greenback. It was called the Greenback because it was printed with green ink on the back and was printed in black on the front with a red seal. Finally, America had a centrally generated currency that was not dominated by private interests, something which is believed to be a sovereign right that should never be delegated to corporations. However, this independent, centrally generated currency was to be short-lived. Meanwhile, by cutting the banking cartels out of the picture, the colony began to flourish. Once free of the banksters, people can be freed from the bondage of having not quite enough. The wheels turn freely. By the average person effectively having that extra spending power, and all sectors of the economy are benefiting by the free flow of funds, which prevents the stalling of the economic engine. It is through this stalling of the money supply that the banksters are able to wreak havoc on every sector of the economy in an instant, as they steal a significant portion of the wealth and indebt nations with every dollar that is spent at interest. We are used to living in an environment where it is the norm for businesses to fail and for a significant portion of the world to struggle in meeting their basic food and shelter needs without falling into debt. Lincoln's Greenback showed us that in becoming free from bank control, we could have a totally different world. Yet, as we will see, America was far from free, and Lincoln was unable to totally break the immense shackles of monetary control held by banking cartels. By April 1862, $450 million of Lincoln's debt-free greenbacks had been printed and distributed. Lincoln states of this, "We gave the people of this republic the greatest blessing they ever had, their own paper money to pay their own debts." Lincoln also revealed his intention to maintain his government-issued greenback currency free from the clutches of the banking cartels. However, the Banksters were very unhappy with this situation, and the Wild West banking system in America began to respond aggressively. The banks began to fight the government. While the Confederates were fighting out front with guns, the bankers were fighting from behind and choking off the government's credit and their supply of money. So the Banksters hatched a plan against Lincoln's debt-free greenback currency. The banking cartels were so endemic to the system, having influence over so many of the country's lawmakers, that they were able to hatch a plan that proved ultimately destructive to the greenback. Essentially, they hatched a plan which in essence was designed to destroy the currency completely. The banking cartels knew that if they didn't put a stop to Lincoln's greenback, their power